Hey guys, it's Billy, and I'm out here today with the star of the new movie Knives Out, Captain America himself.
Before the shield, before the fame, Chris Evans was just another struggling actor in Hollywood, auditioning, failing, and questioning if he had chosen the wrong path. Today, the world knows him as Captain America, the moral center of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and a symbol of courage for millions. But his journey to becoming one of Hollywood's most respected stars was anything but easy. From a quiet childhood in Massachusetts to battling self-doubt and anxiety under the glare of the spotlight, Evans's rise is a story of resilience and reinvention. How did this small-town boy transform into a global icon, balancing blockbuster success with personal battles behind closed doors? This is the untold story of Chris Evans, an actor, a leader, and a man who proved that true heroism comes not from superpowers, but from perseverance. Christopher Robert Evans was born on June 13, 1981 in Boston, Massachusetts, and grew up in the suburban town of Sudbury. His father, Bob Evans, worked as a dentist, while his mother, Lisa, directed a local youth theater. That theater became more than a workplace. It was the stage where young Chris first discovered the thrill of performance. The Evans household was lively. Chris had two sisters, Carly and Shanna, and a younger brother, Scott, who would also become an actor. Their mother encouraged creativity, and Chris often tagged along to rehearsals, soaking in the world of costumes, lights, and applause. At home, the children staged their own plays, fueling Chris's early fascination with storytelling. But it wasn't all picture perfect. His parents divorced during his adolescence, a painful moment that forced Chris to grow up faster. Still, he remained close to both parents, often crediting his mother's artistic influence and his father's discipline as the two forces that shaped him. At Lincoln-Sudbury Regional High School, Chris found an outlet in theater classes. Teachers described him as charismatic, funny, and naturally gifted at slipping into characters. Offstage, however, he was just a regular teenager, obsessed with drawing, sports, and comic books. Looking back, Evans admitted that Captain America was one of his childhood heroes, though he never imagined he would one day embody the role on screen. What began as a love for the stage in a small Massachusetts town would soon grow into a dream too big for the suburbs. After graduating from high school, Chris Evans knew he wanted more than the safety of suburban life. With his mother's encouragement, he packed his bags for New York City and enrolled at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, a school that had trained some of Hollywood's greatest legends. It was a leap of faith. Evans had no guarantee of success, but he had determination. In 2000, he landed his first real break on television with the teen drama Opposite Sex. The show was short-lived, canceled after just 8 episodes, but it introduced Evans to the grind of Hollywood auditions. For the next few years, he worked steadily but without fanfare, appearing in small TV roles and indie projects. Then came Not Another Teen Movie in 2001, a raunchy comedy parody that mocked high school cliches. Evans played Jake Weiler, the stereotypical jock, complete with a now-famous whipped cream bikini scene. While the film wasn't critically acclaimed, it put his name on the map and earned him attention as one of Hollywood's fresh-faced newcomers. Bigger opportunities followed. In 2005, he was cast as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in Marvel's Fantastic Four. With his cocky grin and natural charisma, Evans brought the character to life, and the film performed well at the box office. Suddenly, Evans was recognizable, a rising star with undeniable screen presence. Yet Hollywood was quick to typecast him. Handsome, charming, and funny, yes. But serious? Dramatic? Few believed he could do more. Evans himself worried about being stuck in shallow roles. He had broken into the industry, but his true defining moment was still on the horizon. By the late 2000s, Chris Evans had carved out a decent career, but he was far from a household name. That changed when Marvel Studios came knocking with an offer that could either make or break him. The role of Steve Rogers, Captain America. At first, Evans hesitated. Taking on such an iconic character meant signing a multi-film contract, tying his future to one role for nearly a decade. For an actor already struggling with anxiety about fame, It felt like a terrifying gamble, but after much persuasion from Marvel and encouragement from his family, Evans accepted. In 2011, Captain America, the first Avenger, hit theaters, and audiences were introduced to his version of Steve Rogers, a skinny, ordinary kid from Brooklyn transformed into a super soldier with a heart of gold. Evans played the role with sincerity, restraint, and emotional depth, turning what could have been a cartoonish character into a relatable hero. The success was immediate. The Avengers in 2012 catapulted him into global superstardom, cementing Captain America as one of the pillars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Over the next 8 years, Evans reprised the role in blockbuster after blockbuster: The Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and the record-shattering Endgame. His portrayal embodied not only physical strength but also moral conviction. For millions, Chris Evans wasn't just playing Captain America. He was Captain America. At the same time, he stretched his range outside the MCU. In Bong Joon-ho's dystopian thriller Snowpiercer 2013, Evans shocked audiences with a gritty, haunted performance as a reluctant leader fighting for survival. Years later, in Rian Johnson's Knives Out 2019, he flipped his wholesome image on its head, playing the smug, villainous Ransom Drysdale, a role that delighted critics and fans alike. By the mid-2010s, Chris Evans had become one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, a leading man admired not just for his looks, but for his versatility. The boy from Sudbury had reached the pinnacle: global fame, financial success, and artistic respect. For all his on-screen heroics, Chris Evans's off-screen journey was far from perfect. Fame had a darker side, and Evans often found himself at war with it. One of his most personal struggles was anxiety. Even as Captain America conquered the box office, Evans admitted he sometimes dreaded press tours, red carpets, and public attention. Panic attacks would creep in before interviews, leaving him questioning whether he could endure a career under such intense scrutiny. At one point, he considered walking away from Hollywood altogether, fearing the weight of celebrity life was more than he could bear. Typecasting was another challenge. For nearly a decade, Evans was Captain America to the world. While this role brought him glory, it also risked trapping him. Would audiences ever accept him outside the red, white, and blue shield? Breaking free from that mold became one of his most pressing career battles. His personal life, too, fueled tabloid headlines. Evans's relationships with actresses like Jessica Biel, Minka Kelly, Lily Collins, and comedian Jenny Slate became public property. Every date, breakup, and rumored romance was dissected by the media. Evans, a naturally private person, often struggled with how much of his heart was forced into the spotlight. Then came 2020, when he accidentally posted a private photo from his phone to social media. The image went viral within minutes, dominating entertainment news. For some stars, it could have been a career-staining scandal. But Evans diffused the situation with grace and humor, tweeting about voter registration and using the attention to encourage civic engagement. What could have been a humiliation became another example of his ability to turn setbacks into opportunities. Through it all, Evans remained disarmingly honest. He spoke openly about therapy, self-care, and the importance of addressing mental health. Instead of damaging his reputation, his candor made fans love him more. For many, this vulnerability was proof that Chris Evans wasn't just acting the part of a hero, he was living it. When Chris Evans finally set down the shield after Avengers Endgame in 2019, many wondered if his career had peaked. Would he forever be the guy who played Captain America? Evans had the same fear, but instead of retreating, he chose to reinvent himself. He stepped behind the camera, directing the intimate romantic drama Before We Go in 2014. Proving he wasn't afraid to take creative risks. Though the film received modest reviews, it marked a turning point. Evans was no longer just an actor for hire. He was shaping his own artistic path. On screen, he deliberately sought roles that shattered the noble Captain America image. In Knives Out, 2019, he stunned audiences as Ransom Drysdale, a spoiled, arrogant heir dripping with malice. The performance was a revelation, showing his sharp, comedic timing and willingness to play against type. Beyond Hollywood, Evans leaned into activism. In 2020, he co-founded A Starting Point, a bipartisan political platform designed to make civic engagement more accessible. His goal wasn't to lecture, but to connect voters with reliable information, bridging the gap between politicians and the public. He also became a vocal supporter of LGBTQ+ rights, racial justice, and climate change initiatives. This reinvention allowed Evans to redefine his image, not just as a superhero, but as a thoughtful citizen and versatile artist. He had proven that his legacy wouldn't be limited to one role. Instead, Chris Evans was carving a space where his voice carried weight far beyond the silver screen. Chris Evans's story is more than the tale of an actor who struck gold with a superhero role. It is the journey of a man who turned vulnerability into strength, doubt into determination, and fame into responsibility. To millions of fans, he will always be Captain America, the steady voice of leadership, the moral center of the Avengers, the hero who reminded us that courage and sacrifice define greatness. His performance etched Steve Rogers into pop culture history, ensuring that future generations will look back on him as the definitive embodiment of the character. Yet Evans's true legacy extends beyond Marvel. By speaking openly about anxiety, championing causes he believes in, and embracing roles that defy expectation, he proved that real heroism isn't confined to the screen. It's in honesty, resilience, and using one's platform for good. As Evans himself once said, "The times I've felt most alive are the times I've stepped outside of my comfort zone." His career stands as living proof. Conclusion: Chris Evans's journey is a reminder that even the most unlikely heroes can change the world. Not with superpowers, but with humanity. CTA. Like, share, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.